Oh, and you might not be going to
basically, you know,
World War II.
no post.
Forget your name. I think I met you last time.
Yeah, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
Hello.
Did you perform already?
I did not.
Yeah. Are you going to them?
I am. Are you on for the second act?
Yep. Number 24.
All right. What do you got tonight?
I am going to sing a song that started as a poem that I actually wrote for everybody here back in 2005. And it was to encourage me to everybody. And coincidentally, 3 weeks before I was talking about it open up the 1 week break. So I recently had a chance to perform it for a fellow Toastmaster artist.
Oh, yeah.
I realized it applies to all artists who struggle to survive. So I'm going to do that. And if I have time, I'm going to do a political song.
Yeah, I want to get that. Where'd the pen?
You know where they both went to Italy. And I got there, you know, late at night, and that was on the bed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was I was like a break. Not tonight.
Sort of like a chant underneath. And versus so what's your friend George? You let bands you go so you repeat 3 times of the choruses. Oh, I'm sorry, I got it now. Sitting at that
Oh, you beautiful girl, you great big beautiful. Oh, good, that stopped everybody.
Shit!
Oh no! Lift it up and see if it's broken. Is it still going?
It's running.
All right, there we go. Well, thanks. Now we'll have to. Anyway, so there we go. Great big beautiful gal. Now we have the person who's going to kick off the second half, and that would be Mr. Buford. Give him a round of applause. He comes over here, ladies and gentlemen. We'll end it, kick it off, and end that second half, second show. Okay, let me just.
I know. I'm ready.
Are you ready? Ready.
To rock and roll.
Yeah, I was going to
All
say
right,
that.
good.
I wanted to stop that nonsense.
Don't stop it. That's part of big part of life is ready, rock and roll.
Oh, baby.
All right, this is With You at Memphis Minis. Offbeat rock, punk, canned music, and semi-greasy but good-tasting Memphis Minis. Potato salad and lettucey salad. We keep our eyes on our cell phones. Behind and in front of us, Judy Garland on a TV screen dressed like a cowgirl, maybe from some movie. Minnie Mouse possibly stoned in a painting behind your head. Okay, and here's my lifetime obsession, baseball. This is at the ballpark. People filing in. A young woman runs her fingers through her hair and calls out to her friend. A young woman, another young woman, I guess, I wrote it twice, I shouldn't have done that, leaves with three friends to find their seats. The Lefty O'Doul gate opens up for those with tickets. The Giardelli letters on a wall look out into McCovey Cove, named for recently departed, retired Giant Hall of Fame slugger. 40,000, more like 35,000 fans these days, has seen the attendance alter consecutive miserable seasons. Bruce Bochy now has boys who look better, and I can see the possibility of a victorious year on the horizon. A boat from Marin County arrives. Black and orange giant baseball jerseys abound.
Yeah. Woo! All right, he'll be back to close it up. Again, first, second show. That is the next. And
Richard Sanderell.
the Sanderell, kindly come forward, please. If you would be so kind. Mr. Sanderell.
Dan, calm yourself.
All right.
I know it's hard for him.
Just forward a little bit so I can get the Adjust your screen, please. Hold on.
Hold on.
We control the vertical.
Sorry.
Well, while you're doing it, I'm going to say my usual.
Yeah, say your usual.
Just because you steal something doesn't mean you own it. This is still Indian country and you do live on a lonely land. Just in case you forgot. Ready, Freddie?
Let her rip.
Oh, he's already said that. Okay, first one's flow. Time slips through hands as water flows. Sidewalks sparkle, 3D, front, sides, behind eyes. Light falls from stars, Milky Ways, universes, giving silver blue light, color of moon. Staring back forever, until it untethers itself from mother's grasp. I Love Lucy shows, hello honey, I'm home, forever floats away from us, along with other programs, add to the light. Informing likely no one, but if perchance, what will they think? How much true history is on this disc, whirling through our space, heading to who knows where? Tell. We put ourselves in the best light, not revealing our Homo sapien side, only our human side. Golden record contains our sounds, images, science, music, thoughts, feelings. Is there philosophy, truth about our dark sides, that Homo sapien sides that brings war, filth, destruction wherever we go? It leaves Mother now traveling, flying as our lies fly. Be aware, Crow leaves Mother now in the flow of space. Crow, dark, becomes dark matter, flowing, dancing with voyagers in our ever-expanding flow of space.
Baby.
Killing beauty. It's as simple as garbage in and garbage out. Never learning or taught anything but garbage, beaten mentally, physically. No wonder we're as dumb, dark, as days are short in Alaska in the wintertime. We regurgitate lies we hear. Dental floss for minds, keeping out truths that clog brain up with understanding. empathy, compassion. We aren't going to take the next evolutionary step. Another species might. Our time may be shorter than we think. As Mother spins, we spin with her. Maybe we're getting sick from all this spinning. Maybe it's because we're poisoning ourselves to death. Now, garbage in, garbage out is a metaphor for our food, water. Perhaps we should revisit things we do or will we say about our species that they had died for money. When Native talks about self-sufficiency, self-determination, the rest better listen. The questions they ask themselves need to be addressed. Ask of all humanity. Less garbage in leads to less garbage. Ask ourselves, why all this violence? Because that's the way it's always been, or it's our nature just isn't going to cut it anymore. As on this earth, are we on this earth to kill beauty? Mother's changing her patterns, ways of doing business with Homo sapiens. Contracts been revoked. Planet defenders represent Mother in Cosmos' court. Case is now in the hands of beings we can't see or hear, but the Mother does. She'll let us know what the verdict is. Finally, where's your mother? Floyd Red Crow Westerman, singer, guitarist, American Indian Movement culture minister, mentor, actor, sculptor, ask Christians when, after reading the Bible, where's your mother? There's God the Father, Son, Holy Ghost. No mother. I have yet to hear myself where she is. Some point to Mary. Not quite. Only applies to the Son. Guess you forgot your God's made humans in God's image. That means women included. But where is she? Someone forgot. Someone forgot the mother. Think that's why your church is out of sync on the God-human plane with so many predatory pedophiles? Who's going to tell all those Christian women they are not part of the image of God? God's not a woman, I guess, in your strange sky gods religions. Women are never on the same plane as men. Certainly seems a bit off. How did women find themselves in this inferior positions? Through men and their made-up religions. God has placed women below men every time. When will women find their huevos? Kick men in their proper places. Kick them to the ground. Time the mother gives them a good spanking.
Spanking.
Mr. Irvine.
All right, where's the next in
The next in line is
Gee.
Guy.
Guy? Oh, he is new! He is new!
Thank you.
You're welcome. We like doing that. It's fun.
I wake up on this periodic table and recognize nothing. I learned my times tables through 10 in the 3rd grade. Every other class learned them through 12. Some things you never forget. The old cat always finds the litter box. My pen always finds words for the page. After Mom died, I returned from the cemetery to find a crowd haggling over her stuff on the lawn. I can tell you what I'll take a nickel for and what I won't. 2. Your landlord never kicks you out officially. He just moves the walls in a little each day. So you go vertical and learn just how deep the trench must be. Your dog Ripley was a leaner. but eventually legs give way. So you find yourself down on the corner of reality and metaphor. You do the math and toast your good fortune with an empty paper cup. It's possible to count on one hand those you love most. Evaporation, you could say, is the key to your success. And finally, 3. And this one is called Lesson 3, How to Get Picked. Educated on the half court on Caledonia, you majored in position, minored in hustle, and learned to love the no-look pass. When the big man backed you down in the low post, you learned to pull the chair, hands in the air. Learn never to take credit for gravity. That day, sweet shooting Charlie said he'd take on all comers with 4 just like you. You arrived. 35 years later, walking down the frozen food aisle at Golden Gate Market, you pass a fellow limping ghost, and you smile at one another, remembering those asphalt Saturdays under the rusty rim, no net.
Oh, is this
Not me.
this is
Not me.
over there.
Richard? No. Richard May?
Oh, Richard May.
That's right. It was Richard May, then Sharon, then Britt, then Jimmy, Clyde, Greg, Tommy, Rob, Joseph, Julian, and Iskabibble. Closing it out. And Ishkabibble. Ishkabibble?
You can give me a high sign when you want me to start, before you, after you, with you, whatever you like. You're the director. But we're both part of the band.
Yeah. So I've done this a few times before, but I figured I'd try and do it with a great accompanist. So go ahead. I headed out with only my thumb and a beat up Olivetti typewriter. I didn't know what I was looking for. God, love, death, kicks. I knew I needed to go and never stop going. My head bent to the railroaders. I wandered forth into the electric Negro dominion of cold water flats and boxcars booming through cities. Cleveland, Davenport, Denver, and the sound of mad jazz piercing through the back alleys. New adventures and miles between Design Hope. Design Hope sped out like one long road across the land. Engines into the madness. Charlie Parker with his do to Route 2. Miles, Mendiz, and old Al Bevins cracked his skull on a blah blah shell in cold downtown Chicago, quivering under the noise and clang of all that American music. Fixing and shooting in gloomy shadows like innocent angels in supplication. Whither and hither I went like a nomad lost in a desert of no self. A moving dynamo slipping through the fog and always, hey man, going, where's it at? And too often a search for love in loveless with loveless girls not even acquainted with love or Buddha or Jung or Karl Marx. Leave love behind for kicks and commerce. One night the sad old moon hung over the Golden Gate Bridge like Dick Powell in some Hollywood musical. I was out in the dark bay mist, down in Sausalito on Big Jim Lardner's boat. Dexter Gordon wailing on the radio. When moon-faced Dick Powell wandered up to me and asked if I knew who I was. Really knew the essential soul within. Dick Powell, always see your pictures for that. Thank you.
Like always. Is this Sharon Scott Kish for crying out loud coming up here? You think it's wave it? There we are. There's it.
This is a quote from Miles Davis. If somebody told me I had 1 hour to live, I'd spend it choking a white man, and I'd do it nice and slow.
What does that mean?
Go figure. Okay, we're going to go to Kansas City. This is called Helmut's Ice Cream. Helmut and Ava had been bakers in Germany for years. In fact, they met when teenagers in Berlin. After years of eyeing each other, finally they were able to date. But they both had to go through a lot. Their fathers were both bakers, so the families knew each other. But Ava's father, Harold, was not so keen and willing to give up his daughter. It took a lot of polite visits to the shop, and they both had to be very nice and slow and convince him to get him to approve of his daughter's choice. Eventually, Helmut was given the final approval. Once they got the father's okay, things progressed. But on the horizon there was gloom, dark rumblings. Talk in the temple was hushed, and men met in secret, each time bringing home stories of hate. Fearing the outcome of this hate, many prepared to leave. But many had so many family and community ties, it was very hard for them to leave. And they felt that it was time to go, and that slowly but surely they started to leave. Ava's father wanted them to go. He wanted them to go speedily and to be safe. Finally, after squirreling away money, sending money to relatives out of the country, they tried to go. Each time they tried, there were stumbling blocks, but finally it was okay. They were on their way to Canada. They had relatives in Canada, and that was where they went. Lots of tears, lots of all right, lots I'll stay in touch, and lots of be safe. Once in Canada, they loved it, but they had heard of America and how big it was. And they wanted to come. And they planned, and they read papers. And finally, they had heard of a store in Kansas City, a candy store in a neighborhood. They got on the bus, and there they were, and Helmut was, Ava, this America, she is so big. Some of these states are as big as the whole countries. Yes, but she was sad and winsome and missing her family. When she went, and when they got there, the store was more than they had ever expected. It was a cute little store in a nice neighborhood with lots of people, lots of little brown people, and upstairs was the cutest apartment. So Ava went about her way, trying to make the place a home, but she still missed her family. Word finally came. One day, there was an envelope from Belize. We have had contact with your folks, and we are going to send a package. Look for it. Day after day after day, Ava greeted the mailman. No package. Finally, one day, the package came. It was very heavy for its size. She opened it up, and there was a letter from her mother, and there were her pictures from when she had painted when she was a child, her mother's wedding ring, lots of family photos, books in German, and recipes. She went upstairs. She couldn't bear it. She took to her bed, and that was her big mistake. In walks the big queen of the neighborhood. Ava, get up. Your mother did not send you that for you to take to your bed. Girl, let's look at these recipes. And they did. And it was weeks and weeks and weeks of planning and testing. And little girls running in and out of the shop, helping with little dirty fingers, making ice cream, spilling ice cream, spilling sugar, but they were helping. And finally, they opened up the store and they said, how can we do this? How can we do this? How can we put this out here? Well, you've already got people coming, so have a big opening, not a small one. So the little girls go off to May's dime store and they're buying construction paper, glue, scissors, glitter, and they're busy. And they make invitations and they make signs and they put them all over the neighborhood. And as the day approaches, the girls get dressed up. They've got their mother's aprons on, their mother's high heels, and their mother's Sunday hats. And the 5 and 6 and 7-year-old girls are standing outside, handing out paper flowers they've made, and there it is, the ice cream store. And it's called Gertie's. And the girls are proud, and Ava is proud. And once in a while, she looks at the picture of her mother, and she is very bittersweet, just like the candy and the recipes her mother gave her.
Beautiful.
Rhetorical. Next up, we have Brit Mad Dog Peter.
Brit Peter, our beauty teacher of PE, for God's sake, come on up here, so I can start talking with this Spanish accent. Oh, it's not Spanish, it's a Scottish accent, but very badly done.
I thought Mad Dog was a Marine. Not this
You
dude.
know how it is.
Okay. Our friend Miles.
Wait, let me elevate you.
Yeah, I get
Thank you. Our friend Miles came out of the kitchen looking more like Christ than usual, his wrinkled chlamys, and said, "This is the best peanut butter sandwich I've ever eaten." The evening's first epiphany, helped by communal peyote. Are we happy? We'd be happy as larks if there were no electoral college. We'd be happy as larks if the 1973 DOJ hadn't put out a memo protecting thieves in the White House. We'd be happy as larks if Congress wasn't nearly totally bought and controlled by two bosses. We'd be happy as larks if we weren't so chicken shit and oblivious. Dance on, citizens of San Juan. Dave Dillinger and I still dig most revolutions and yearn for the follow-through. It'll be 74 years since we dropped 2 bombs on Japan. Boxcars and boxcars. I've just learned that the plane carrying the bomb to Nagasaki was named Boxcar. This remains indigestible information. 2 cities, over 200,000 dead. Not terrestrial racket through grandfather night. Not boxcars holding boys at the crossing, but a riveted silver bird causing those below to cry out and dissolve. Shadow over a foreign archipelago. An eagle singed by its own oil. Tumor's bloody bird again. The myth of our beneficence.
Yeah.
Hiroshima, not guilt, but acknowledgement, moving toward human concern. The massive project, preparation, strings around the small package knotted tight. Like most vets I've met, many scientists said, never again. One summer, a small group of Hibakusha visited San Francisco State, mostly young women, giving us details and their scars, not wavering in their humanly concern, their outreach, their call, their final judgment of war. Translate that.
Wow!
Jimmy Mankind.
You have more time, you know.
He left.
I have more
Okay.
time?
You did.
Oh no.
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh
Oh,
no!
yeah.
Oh no!
Okay, hold on a second. Yeah, he thought that the beeper going off was...
Oh.
Hey, cool, okay, then you're next. Okay, sorry about that. No, because I had it timing
Okay,
down.
this is a short one.
All right.
San Juan, 2019. Sharon Scott Kish said, rumble, rumble. Another said, stay after the dance, stay in the streets. A.J. Musty, knowing how difficult it all is, said, see the revolution through.
There we go. Now is it this guy? Now it's the Clyde Aldrich show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, come on, come on and step right up. Grab yourself a front row seat before they're gone, and they're going fast. You don't want to miss this? No way.
What?
It's time for another exciting installment of the
Clyde
Always
Show.
With me, you're always clever, always handsome, always charming host, Clyde Always. And no, I ain't no common carnival barker.
I am the Bard of the Lord. Hey.
Thank you. All right.
You know that part.
And I'm here to tell you guys some stories. So gather around. I'm telling you guys stories. Come here. Did I ever tell you guys about my grandma Sue?
Yeah.
No, you know I didn't.
No.
Want to hear the goddamn story or not?
Yeah.
Okay, when my grandmother Sue was 102, she had moved to the country of Flink, which was infamous for its magnificent shore that would shimmer in purple and pink. And every September she'd always remember to write me in octopus ink. After dipping her pen, she would lick it, and then fancy paper she'd pummel and punch. All then brimming with hope, one manila envelope would be plucked from his brothers the bunch, and she'd stuff in the letter and do me two better, $10 and some cracker tea crunch. Once she'd rummage the stamp, to the yard would she tramp, there she'd sit with a gnome named of Trevor. And Vivaldi they'd hum until the mailman would come. He'd arrive about quarter to never. See, I'd find it upsetting. My gram kept forgetting in Flink it was Sunday forever. Thank you very much. Stay tuned for more of the Clyde Always Show right after these brief announcements. Hey everybody, what have I got right here? Some new literature. Hip Dan Hinkle can be yours for the low price of $5 only, and it has been published with full apologies to Washington Irving. Unmuzzled Monkey Shines, collection of stories and poems. Yeah, Grandmother Sue is featured in this. Can be yours, $5. Less's Place, a hipster manifesto. This is my literary magnum opus, ladies and gentlemen, and it can be yours for $12 only. You can get it on Amazon.com. Lastly, I've got a show coming up at a new venue called The Finn, and it's a fabulous Victorian mansion. It looks just like a museum in there. And yeah, I've got flyers right here with all the pertinent information. So if you want to come to my show, I think you might like it. There's prizes, new props, new stories, poems, excitement, and it's gonna be a ton of fucking fun. So if you want to come, there's a goddamn flyer. Okay, back to the show. So this one I think we can all relate to. It's a poem that I wrote entitled "The Tinder Date from Hell." Now I'll never be sure what possessed me to swipe to the right when I should have known better, as I'm not really into the arrogant type, and his smile looked cheesy as cheddar. Like a fool, I agreed to a time and a place for a date with this obvious winner, and I reasoned aloud as I put on my face, well, at least it'll be a free dinner. So I Ubered across to the far end of town to a dingy and dark taqueria. Standing close by the door was a gal in a gown, and she curtsied and said, "Call me Tia." She escorted me back, and she pulled up my seat while my date was just sitting there, smoking, but he offered apologies then for the heat. Lo siento, the AC is broken. As I sat at the table, I'd started to sweat, so I made a fan out of my menu, and I noticed a sinister marionette keeping watch from the wall of this venue. "Have a drink," said my date, as he reached for the jug with his eyes nearly red as the vino. "Oh, terrific sangria," I said with a shrug. I would usually stick with a Pinot. Then there came to the table a man in a vest, our mesero, who called himself Pablo, whom my date disregarded as one would a pest when he ordered the shrimp al diablo. While we waited, I sneered at his ratty goatee. It looked harsh as a blackberry thicket, and I scoffed when he pulled out a skeleton key, which he scratched on a lottery ticket. "Oh, for Christ's sakes, I'm leaving," I spat in a huff as I reached for my purse and my jacket, but he lunged and he snatched me and handled me rough, so I screamed up a deafening racket, but Miss Tia and Pablo did not run to help. They just stood by the door at the ready. And the marionette came alive with a yelp. It was dancing and flinging confetti. "Please, don't go," begged my date with a hideous hiss as his skin went from scaly to thorny. He was flicking his tongue as it went for a kiss. See, my date, he was actually horny. Thanks for
every Friday.
Yeah, Cafe International.
Cafe International.
Yeah.
What time is that?
7 o'clock sign up at Cafe International if you want to come read poetry.
There you go, because he is the MC of that venue, just so you know.
Mr. Pond.
Mr. Pond, Mr. Greg Pond, Mr. Pond, Mr. Greg Pond.
Actually in the house tonight.
My name is Pond, Greg Pond. There we go.
Actually, I was going to have David accompany me on.
Speak up.
I was going to have David accompany me on a piece, but he's not here right now, so I will do this instead. This is Dear Homeless One. Oh, where do you roam, dear homeless one? You have nowhere to go. The streets are too cold, shivering in the shadow, under dirty blanket, hungry, broke. No address, no family, no phone. No one sees you struggle. No one knows your plight. There's no one there to testify or hear you weep or moan. Dear homeless one, where do you roam? When day is done, who will offer a bite of food, a bathroom to use, one night's rest, a pillow to place under a weary head? Can't get decent health care, not eligible for welfare, so how do you live your life? And though every day you find a way to maintain, your enemy is always the night. Dear homeless one, where do you roam? When the cradle is gone, your sorrow is only known to stray cats who cry at night like babies left alone. Neighborhood residents say they're willing to offer a donation as long as you move along. They'll even raise enough dough to block any motion and let you know this ain't where you belong. Neighborhood residents say as they prepare to stand guard, you can build a navigation center just about anywhere you want, but nowhere near my block, around the corner, or next to my backyard.
Sorry.
Dear homeless one,
I didn't know you were up there.
where can you go to live your life when living is so hard? Huh?
You want to do the one what's going to do with him?
Yeah, I'll do it now.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll do it
yeah,
now.
sure.
Yeah. I have a couple that I'll do with following the theme. This is one I wrote a while ago. It's called Driving for Miles.
Oh, yeah.
In a silent way, I strain to hear a muted horn blowing somewhere miles away. A one-syllable name whispered in chorus, passing between and before us. As we drove down the long of the road, with many moons behind and miles to go.
Yes or no? If you want me to play.
Oh yeah, just play. Okay. Yeah, these are. Okay, this is Coltrane poetry. Short. Listening in the evening while Coltrane blows, a series of colored bars rolled in dexterous fingered line along the tenor's spine, pouring and purring from the saxophone's throat. He speaks to me melodically. I sit in awe and take notes. One more. This is Jazz Tree. One night, Greensleeves managed to catch Coltrane in the branches of a eucalyptus tree, while miles away and far above a blue saxophone moon watched as notes and chords got tangled in a forest of trunks, leaves, and roots, hidden deep in the rich history of jazz and blues, where tenor and trumpet would delve into the truth behind the music. Bass and drums brush up against a rhythmic breeze, where muted tones are lost along a melody covered in lichen, moss, and piano keys, spread across the dark between C major and a love supreme, where we sit in a living room, knee deep in the midst of cool, listening to the sound of miles blowing slow and kind of blue, while Coltrane's moaning solo under the glow of a saxophone moon.
He's a professional, just so you know.
We interrupt this poetry reading to bring you this update on today's mass shooting. Police have now identified a suspect, the NRA, who is still at large. Extreme caution is advised as he is armed and dangerous and has unprecedented influence in D.C. His suspected accomplices, known as the gun manufacturers, have refused to cooperate with authorities, citing immunity they say is guaranteed by the Constitution. Their lawyers were in court earlier filing an injunction to stop their clients from ever being questioned or prosecuted in any way, or in any way hindered from making as much profit as they can. That injunction has been granted. Meanwhile, the president said in an interview on the White House lawn just moments ago that he will issue a pardon for the NRA and the gun makers in the morning. Congress is expected to do absolutely nothing as usual. A full report at 11. Miles is a magician as well as a musician. When he plays a ballad, the rabbit is seduced out of the hat. The blues disappear into thin air. The spirit is levitated into a state of bliss. Houdini fails to impress. Simeon registered as a conscientious objector, refused to report for the draft, sought asylum in a black church, eventually landed in jail for the crime of not wanting to kill people. The crime of not wanting to kill people. He always said no Vietnamese ever called him the N-word. Lots of whites in North Carolina did after he organized sit-ins at segregated lunch counters. He was 16. At 18, he reminded them of the words they taught him. Thou shalt not kill. Many people would say Simeon's not a hero for avoiding his country's call, for choosing prison over service, for sticking by a simple commandment they say they believe in, except when it comes time to prove it. We're going to end. The true story, my friend Simeon, who was a role model for me, which is why I registered as a conscientious objector in 1969. But that's another story. So this is a final little tiny poem, and it's based on a quote from an article that appeared last week, not 100 years ago, but last week, in the Louisville Courier-Journal. And this is the quote. Kentucky might be going into the business with the Russian mafia. Not the rough and tumble Godfather crowd with the bent noses and such names like Tessio, Barzini, and Luca Brasi. There's nothing deformed, misshapen, irregular about my nose. Nothing dishonest or corrupt either. When I was young, they jokingly referred to it as a Roman nose. It roams all over my face. It's not bent or broken. People with vowels at the end of their names aren't the only ones who have noses like mine. An eagle's beak. He wears it proudly. So do I.
Yeah. Very good. And now, in case you want to know, this is Rob, and we call him that because that's his name.
To follow up what Tommy just offered us, currently in the United Nations, they are working on getting an amendment passed to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They are trying to add refusing to kill as one of the basic human rights. I want to dedicate this poem to an elderly poet who sat in that seat right there sometime this past year. I think it was the only time he was here this past year, and I think he may have been the feature. And he did a poem about poetry, and he said how much better the universe of poetry would be if poets threw away their final drafts and instead shared with the world what was in pencil in the margins as they were trying to write it. This is called Rainbow Rambling. 1 in 4 Asian brides choose Caucasian dick. Wait, I'm a white dude. Where's my Asian chick? Just as many Hispanic brides want a gringo by their sides. Could anything be sweeter than mating a mamacita? With African American women, my odds are halved, much less. Though twice my Hispanic and Asian bros. So where's my ebony goddess? Don't feel bad, white women. You'll not be bereft and alone. Even if you don't deserve it, I promise to throw you a bone. Feeling listless, dear listener? Perhaps a little cringe came out? Are these words I speak racist? Certainly, without a doubt. But you can never judge words alone. You have to measure heart. Always see what's beneath. Intent is the important part. Am I being ironic and silly? Rhapsodizing my rainbow willy? Yes. Yes. And maybe no. It's a conundrum. I know. Attraction to the exotic is biology's natural song. DNA loves diversity, and hormones follow along. Plus, mixed babies embody the best of our dreams and hope. In our climb up MLK Mountain, they'll be our guide, our rope. It doesn't mean my attractions are never suspect or dire. Find me someone balanced and selfless, I'll quickly call you a liar. Find me someone well-adjusted, I'll show you a tragedy. But the price of making things better is a mess of confused misery. For instance, let's talk transgender. Let's sing a congruent song. I'll show how even good mental tools can quickly lead you wrong. When I meet someone new, past the surface I try to see. I try to be ethnic gender blind. I try to see them as a totality. I try to feel all they ever were and all they might want to be. But what do you do if someone erases their earlier identity? What if they only want to be seen for who they are right now? I don't know how to see someone like that. Maybe I should learn how. Some trans folk are proudly binary. I'm a woman, I'm a man. Now it's plain to see. Other folk cry for gender fluidity. The straights try to agree, often pathetically. In the streets and sheets, our confusions play out. Do your best to manifest kindness. One poet holds their heritage aloft, another praises ethnic blindness. So thank you for your ear. At least I made it rhyme. I'll finish with some silliness apropos to this confusing time. Every person is so much more than orientation or origin. And besides, everybody knows the world's best lovers are Jewish women.
Besides, I got a joke. I know, never mind. Joseph! Joseph Stegner, who hasn't been here in a long time. Give him a round of applause. Yeah. I call him Joseph because I like his name. Actually, we used to call him Bob, but he didn't answer to that.
All right, everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
It's great to be here. It really is. It's nice to see faces that are still here. I am going to perform for you a poem that I wrote for everyone here. It was back in the year 2005 in March. And coincidentally, only weeks later, a CHP officer talked me out of jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge after I wrote it. And as you know, being an artist, sometimes it's tough and it's hard to balance trying to survive in a material world when our thoughts have nothing to do with money. So, but this one was for all of you, coming here week after week and seeing you perform. It's called You Who Are the Voices. You who are the voices, the wind within the veins, bringing your vital oxygen to needy hearts and brains. You who have the gift of speech that ears are blessed to hear, remember your importance, the future is yours to steer. If you craft the tasty sayings that seep into a person's soul, don't let the weight of poverty make you drop your sacred goal. 99.9% of folk like to see things after they are done, not seeing the entire process of what went into even one. Like broccoli in the produce stand or any fruit or vegetable you like that starts as a seed so tiny with little growth each day and night. Yet slowly, through the process, the delicious fruit is born. So it is with all your talent, however thin your heart is worn. The pain we sometimes go through is sometimes deep and wears us out. And when the challenges don't seem to stop, our faith converts to doubt. And the usual encouragement we want to always give becomes difficult to conjure if we don't even want to live. If you've never been quite that depressed, I hope you never come to be. But if you do, remember, a writer's task is to experience and see. Like those in special forces have to practice to extremes, so it is our soul must also dip into the hells of what life seems. And through the trials and the challenges, sometimes even being seen the worst, is absolutely necessary to bless our readers when they're cursed. So hold your head up, stay afloat, be brave and forge ahead. It is only by depths of experience that the sightful pen is led. Don't settle for less than all your best, else common you will be. Those who strive for excellence have qualities observers can see. I forgot the rest. Oh, shoot. Anyway, we who are born to ride the wave of our pulses to tomorrow, let us be the noble creatures who rid the world of sorrow.
There you go.
Well, only missed one stanza now. How much more time I got? 2 minutes? Misrepresenting others' intentions for the purpose of bringing them curse is a pretty clear sign. Shoot. I'm trying to do one I just sang. I'm going to do an old one that I wrote in 2016. They elected an egomaniac to be the head of our great land. The dangers of his arrogance they chose to not understand. The Proverbs warn us wisely that pride precedes a fall, but the short-sighted wanted privilege, forgetting earth is still a ball. If we can't thrive together, we will perish in the end. Even if the great deer tickler is thought to be a friend. Greed has been rewarded and given military might, while those who have been fooled by him dismiss the need for fright. Hitler was a hero to those made wealthy by his ways, but despite their years of glory, karma's pendulum repays. Thank you. I love all you guys, so whoever's next, come on up, and it's always nice to see you all, and thank you.
Don't be such a stranger, come back there once in a while. Who's next? And then the next person after that is Buford, right? Way down. Oh, yeah, Buford. Okay. Yeah, Buford, you're.
Okay, let's do a little adjustment here. Okay.
You might mess that up.
All right.
Is that Juliet?
It appears to be. For now.
For now.
Okay, so forgive the little baby guitar. It doesn't really hold a tune, but it'll do. Like a vagabond, I stagger on, broken every day. On these words, I choke and never say. They are my unspoken serenade. This is called Birthday Wishes. Nothing ever happened. As if the last time I had heard those abrasive vocal cords, they were garroting me with goodbye. After months of not speaking, in an instant I started choking up. Choking not to hold back my tears, but the pride I had so strenuously struggled to swallow that now finds itself clawing its way back out. So when she had the nerve to ask me what I wanted, all I could say was a new blender because the one I have no longer works, you see. It hasn't worked ever since I had decided to throw my heart inside it so I could pour it into a crystal glass and hand it to you. Ever so careful not to spill because I yearn for you. To drink every last drop of me like the cold, lifeless, seductively shallow and wretched Wendigo that you are drinking me. In hopes that as I descend down your esophagus and traverse through your throat, I will turbulently tumble towards my final resting place within the putrescent pits of stomach acid that I have the pleasure, nay the privilege to proclaim as my personal purgatory. Drink me. In hopes that as I delicately drip down your lips, carelessly cascade across your chest, and carefully caress every crook and cranny and come crashing to a rest against such soft and silky breasts. Break the silence in my death when whispers break free from my breath that scream, I am as near to your heart now as I am ever gonna be. Because you never really thought of me as more than an accessory. Just another bite to eat whenever it was time to feed your insatiable appetite. For love and affection, feel lust and destruction. Like a viral infection, let alone gain the fight when what I wanted was the topic of the discussion. So I guess then I'll just go buy one my goddamn self. At least that's what I wanted to say, but honestly it was just a fantasy and all in my head. See, truthfully, in reality, all that I said was fucking nothing. Oh, 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 oh. Whenever it was time, ever so careful not to spill because I yearn for you, I yearn to believe I am as near to your heart as I'm ever gonna be.
Mr. Closer, Super Duper Bulldozer, closing out the second show, Mr. Pumpkin, just back up here. You want to take care of these prizes? Designed, like I like to say, with your mind in mind. That's not my line, so don't give me credit. Oh, I'd like credit for that line.
Take all the credit you want.
Well, Fire Sign Theater probably would be upset.
Yeah, they're pretty big. It was called Nowhere Near Corporate. I wear a cheap but nice looking sports coat on a regular basis for evenings out and to work with kids with disabilities, high school kids whose brains are nowhere near high school level. Most of them also do not seem to have the regular high school kids' bravado and usually do not talk with the clarity or acerbic tongues of the 9th through 12th graders. I walk into the school with determination to do the best I can with whatever energy I possess that day. While $100,000 a year is the amount business people in San Francisco may average, my colleagues and I scrape by on half that amount or less. Going in to the combat zone of scrambled brains, we do our best. A sheltered kid's mother manages him and 2 homeless siblings, and this is the extreme case, but mostly not much better off example of my charges. They provide my day. One student displaces a piece of an assembled dinosaur jigsaw puzzle. I fuss a bit and he puts it back into place. Another student tap dances his feet underneath the chairs while sitting at a table. A student bends straws extensively, then flicks them with his fingers. While lying on a classroom sofa, a young man in my class crushes a plastic water bottle beneath his butt. Justin Bieber plays in the background. Realizing everything is temporary, another of my students erases a city full of windows he has drawn on a whiteboard. A girl with long hair grabs a wheelchair-bound boy, then kisses his forehead.
All right, so another fantastic evening. Thanks everybody else. Not me.
And you.
And me, thank you. So when you came in and you signed next to a number, you'll notice that these cards have numbers on them, and I've been shuffling them obsessively, compulsively. And one of my co-hosts here is going to then cut the deck, and then I will pick a card, and then you can come up and take any one of these things, or one of these. Tell me which card you would like to do. Being the co-pilot means next week you come and do one of those people's. Oh, okay, thank you. And the keynote speaks first, comes back for the open, the last word, which Buford introduces and closes out the second show, choosing the theme or prompt, and she is ready to. And who is number 17?
Me!
Well, come on. What do you want? What do you want? Thank you. Forget to cut the card.
I do co-host.
Huh?
Co-host.
Okay, we got one of our 2 co-hosts on which she keeps me balanced over here, even though I have 4 legs on this chair. Number 12.
Pablo Rosales.
Pablo. Any of these things are yours. Yours.
CD. No.
Yeah, this is cool.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Heavy tone.
Heavy tone. And he just donated one of his CDs here, so it's up here now. So thank you, Pablo. Okay. Number Zion Swansea.
What was that in English?
22.